this week we are going to be starting Excel. So this is Excel Chapter 1. So look in your books under Excel. We're going to start by going to our Start menu, type in Excel, open up Microsoft Excel 2010, start an Excel workbook. Okay, go ahead and maximize by clicking your Maximize button. Okay, we're going to start by going into cell A1. Okay, we're going to begin by entering text. Okay, again, notice that we've got the ribbon just like we normally do. You're going to notice your ribbon is a little bit different again. Remember in PowerPoint our ribbon was a little bit different than it was in Word. In Excel our ribbon is going to be a little bit different. Remember our Home tab is going to have our most commonly used functions. Notice over here on the right in our editing group we have this auto sum, that's going to be new. Our cells, this is going to be new. Our styles is going to look a little bit different. Notice we have styles on the Home tab this time. This is because we use styles a lot, and so we put that on the Home tab. We also have this numbers because we work with numbers a lot in Excel, so we have numbers on the Home tab. Okay, and then we see a lot of our familiar functions as well. Okay, we're going to start by clicking in cell A1. Okay, this is a cell right here, cell A1. You can see up here in the name box. In the name box, we can see cell A1 is highlighted. When we talk about cells, we always start by naming the column first and then the row. We can see that the orange letter and the orange number is highlighted to indicate what cell we're in. Also, there's a dark black box around the cell indicating which cell we're in. Okay, so we're going to click in there and we're going to start typing. Okay, notice that as we're typing in the cell, the information appears here, and it also appears up here in our formula bar. Okay, so we're going to type save, Sable, River, Foundation. Okay, and then we're going to type enter. When we type enter, that moves us down into the next row. Enter moves us to the next row. Tab moves us to the right. Enter moves us down to the next row. Not always to the cell directly below. Sometimes it'll move us over, like remember the return key. Some of you guys might have used typewriters, and it moves us to the beginning of the next row. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, in cell A2, notice we're in cell A2. We can tell by the name box. We can also see the orange on the A and the 2, so we know we're in cell A2. Lifetime fundraising summary. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to go down. So we're going to press enter to move down a row, and then we want to move over to the right. Now to move over to the right, we can do a couple things. We can press the tab key to move over to the right, or we can also use our right arrow key to move over to the right. Okay, next we're going to type what are called our row or our column, our column titles. Okay, these are our column headers up here. These are our column titles. Okay, so we're going to start with Allentown, and then we're going to use our tab key to move over, or our arrow key. We're going to type Chamber City, and then our next in our next cell we're going to type Pattonsville, and then Sable Village, and then Strongville. And don't worry that it doesn't fit all. You see there's kind of some overlap here. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that later. Town of Cary and total. Okay, then we're going to hit, now watch the enter. We're going to hit enter and watch what happens. It's not going to move directly down below this. It's going to go, see how it goes back to the beginning? Now notice how it goes back underneath Allentown. That's because that's where we began. It doesn't go back to the beginning. It doesn't go to A4. It goes to B4 because that's where we started. We started in B3. So it's going to go back in directly under B. So it goes to the cell directly under where we started. That's what the return key does. If you want to move directly under the total, you can use the down arrow. Okay, and then I'll move you down under it. Now, what we want to do is we want to move into cell A4, so you can use Shift Tab to move to the left. You can use your left arrow key, or you can just use your mouse and you can move your cursor over into the cell that you want to move into and just click. Or you can go up into the name box and you can type A4 and it'll move into that. See, if I go over here and then I go up into my name box and type A4. I don't have to capitalize that A. I can just type A4 and it'll move me into that cell. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to type our row titles. These are row headers over here, these numbers. We want to type our row titles. So we want to start with corporate, and then we want to do direct mail. And again, don't worry that it overflows. That's not a big deal. Then we want to do fund runs, government, and phone-a-thon. And again, don't worry that it's going over, and then total in our last row. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to look at page EX13, and you'll see a bunch of numbers up there, and we just want to type all those numbers into those cells. Now, I've already typed all these numbers here, so I'm just going to go grab them, and I'm going to paste them here because I am not going to take the time to copy them all in there or type them all in, but you're going to have to type them in manually. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do after you've typed in those numbers, so you might want to pause and go ahead and type those all in. The next thing that we want to do is we want to add these numbers together. Now, we can get out our calculator and we can start adding those together, which will take a long time, plus we're likely to make a mistake. So rather than adding those together manually, what we can do is we can use this auto sum up here. You see this button right here. This funny looking E up here is actually a sigma. Okay, from the Greek alphabet for sigma, and it stands for sum. So all we need to do is place our make our active cell B9. Okay, that's the active cell is the one that we're ready to type in. So that's the one with the little orange or the name box or the black box around it. And all we need to do is click right up here where it says auto sum. Just click. Okay, now notice the context of what it says. Okay, it says equals sum. Okay, sum is the name of our function that we're going to use in order to add these numbers together. Sum meaning to add together. B4 colon B8, that's a range of cells, okay, or a group of cells that are all together. B4 being the first cell. Okay, we can see B4. Okay, this is B4. B8 being the last cell. So that means it's saying add all the cells together between B4 and B8. So what we're going to do is we're just going to press our enter key, and it's going to add those together. Now, I want to talk to you about this formula bar. Now watch, we're going to click in this cell right here. Now notice it says $243,335.90. Okay, it says that in the cell, but if we look in the formula bar, we can see that it says sum B4 colon B8. Now, why do we do that? Okay, we do that because let's say that this corporate donation, okay, it's $74,029.35. Let's say somebody gave us some more money so that now it's $100,000 exact. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at this total down here. It's $243,335.90. If I change that to the 100,000, so I'm going to press enter to change that officially. Now keep your eye on this number down here. Watch what happens. You see how it changes so that now we've added this number. So that's why we do that. If we didn't use that sum function there, now I'm just going to undo that so that it goes back to the original number. But if we didn't use that sum function, what would happen is if this guy, if we had that other donation to increase this amount to that $100,000 even, we would have to go through and we would have to add this again to get our new total. So that's a lot of extra work. We have to change this and we have to re-add these numbers. Now by using that function, we don't have to re-add that. Now here's another cool thing. Okay, now watch. We have this B4 colon B8, right? But now if we click, okay, go ahead and press enter so that you're not in the cell. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click in that cell. Now if you look down here, it says ready. It should say ready, okay? We're going to go up here and you see this little square at the bottom corner of this box. That's called a handle. We're going to mouse over it until our cursor forms a solid cross. When it does that, we're going to click and we're going to grab onto that handle and we're going to drag it across. Okay, now see, it takes a minute for it to click. See, I can go all the way, halfway across the cell, and it does nothing. So just keep going, and eventually it's going to click and it's going to drag. And we're going to drag that all the way across. Okay, all the way across like that, all the way under all those numbers, and we're going to let go. Now notice that all of these are different. They don't say 243,335 all the way across. They have different numbers. Why is that? Well, because even though we copied this, that's what we did there, we copied this, even though we copied it, it doesn't say B4. In the next cell, it says C4 to C8, D4 to D8, E4 to E8, F4 to F8, G4 to G8. That's because those are what are called relative references. Relative references mean that when you copy them, they change relative to where you're placing them. Okay, so what they're doing is they're changing, and instead of adding the numbers in these cells, they're adding the numbers directly above, in the column directly above where you're copying the cell to. Okay, so we're copying them and we're pasting them, and they're adding relative, so they're adding directly above. So that's what we're doing. So this is adding column G, this is adding column F, this is adding column E, adding column D, adding column C. Relative references. So that's what we did right there. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to do the totals on the right. Okay, so we want to do the totals on the right. Now there's a faster way to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to click and we're going to drag all the way down. Now you're saying, okay, well this isn't going to work because we're going to add the numbers above, and there's no numbers above. Well, Excel knows that. So when we click on the auto sum, so first we're going to click in cell H4, hold your mouse down and drag all the way down to 9. So click in cell H4 and drag. Click and hold that left mouse button down and drag. Okay, you want a solid dark border all the way around those cells is what you're looking to do. You want a solid dark border all the way around those cells. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on that auto sum again. Now let's see what it does. Look at what it does. It goes B4 to G4. So instead of adding the cells above, it's adding the cells to the left, because Excel knows that there's no numbers above, so it must want to add the cells to the left. So Excel is intuitive. It thinks about what you want to do, and it works ahead. So it's really pretty cool. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to save. So go to File, Save As. Okay, I save things on my desktop. I'm going to save this as Save Sable River Foundation. And save. Alright, the next thing we want to do is we want to add some formatting. As you can tell, I had some trouble with this number. I didn't know if it was 24,000 or 243,000, so we want to format the numbers. It's kind of hard to read the titles. We want to add some formatting to make this whole spreadsheet easier to read. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click cell A1 to make it the active cell. Now, Excel makes it easy for us. It actually has some cell styles and formatting already in here so that we don't have to go through here and do all the formatting ourselves. So we're going to go into cell styles, and lo and behold, look at this. There's one called title. I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Title. Makes it easy. Okay, now we're going to click in cell A2, and we want to do this. We want to do title, but we want to do it just a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it manually, and we're going to make it kind of like this, but a little bit different. So first of all, we're going to use Cambria. Okay, that's the same font that's used up here. See, Cambria. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it bold. Okay, we're going to make it 14 point, which is actually just a little bit smaller than what we've got going on here. This is going to be an 18 point. We want it to be a 14 because it's a subtitle, not a full title. And then we want to make the font color the same color as the one above. Okay, so this dark blue text too. Okay, see, now it looks great because it's exactly the same, but it's a subtitle instead of a title. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to center it above the table. So we're going to select all of these cells. So select cell A1 and click and drag through to H, or you can click in cell A1, hold your shift key down, and click in cell H1 to select all of those cells. Okay, and then we're going to go up here and we're going to choose this merge and center. Merge and center. Okay, we're going to do the same thing to the lifetime fundraising summary, and we're going to click in cell A2, hold your shift key down, click in cell H2 and merge and center. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to apply a style to these titles here. So we're going to go to our cell styles, and we like this heading 3 right here. That's kind of nice. And we're going to center those. And again, don't worry that they don't fit in the cells. We'll fix that momentarily. Not to worry. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to the bottom. Okay, we're going to add a total cell style to the bottom. Okay, you can see that there's a nice total down here. Okay, that all looks very nice. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to format our numbers so that they're easier to read. So we're going to start by selecting this top row up here, and we're going to add this accounting number format. So we're just going to click on that number right there, accounting number format. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select all these numbers in between, not the bottom numbers, just the numbers in between, and we're going to add the comma number format. That adds commas in there. It's always easier to read numbers when they have commas in them, so you know where the thousands place is. Then we're going to click this bottom row, and we're going to add that accounting number format too. It always looks nice when you add those dollar signs to the top and bottom row. When you add them to all these rows in between, it gets a little cluttered. See, when I add them all in here, see how it gets a little cluttered? Okay, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to add it to that top row and the bottom row. And you see how things are starting to kind of work themselves out. Now, notice that this phonathon still doesn't fit right. We need to make that fit. So we're going to go and place our cursor right here between the column A and B, right on that line. Okay, right on that line between the A and the B. See how it makes a bar with an arrow to the left and an arrow to the right? And we're going to double click. That automatically adjusts the column so that it's the best fit. Okay, the best fit for the content within the cells. Okay, that's what we want to do. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a cylinder chart. Okay, we want to add some information so that people can see this visually. It's kind of hard to tell, you know, where most of the money came from. It's kind of hard to visually see, you know, which town had the most money and from which run or from which fundraising thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a chart. So what we're going to do is we're going to click in cell A3, and we're going to click and we're going to drag through. We're not going to get the totals. We don't want the totals in here, because if we do our chart and we add the totals in there, it's going to throw everything out of whack. So we don't want to do that. We want these titles in here, because those are going to be our those are going to give us the information we need for our key or our legend, whatever you want to call it, and for our what do you call it? You know, for our labels and everything. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to go to Insert, Column. We want a column chart. Okay, we're going to go down and find cylinders, and we're going to use a clustered cylinder chart. Okay, and there's our clustered cylinder chart right there. Pretty, huh? See how, see these right here, corporate, there we go, corporate, direct mail, fund runs, government phone-a-thon. See, it gave us a nice legend over here on the side. And see, there's our cities right there, Allentown, Chambers City, Pattinsville, right there at the bottom. See, if we didn't include those in our selection of the data, it wouldn't have those on our chart. We want to include those so that we have that information on our chart. So it's very important to have those. Now, for a second, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to include the title so that you can see why we didn't include the totals. Sorry. Okay, see, when we include the totals, okay, you see how it kind of whacks everything out? You see how our totals are just thwarting everything? See how everything's all just off the chart? See how it's all wacky and wonky? See, that's why we don't want to include our totals. Okay, so we don't want to include those in our charts. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to place it so that it looks nice on our chart. So we're going to place it right about here underneath our chart. And we're going to go down here on the corner, see, so that it makes a nice double arrow. Okay, and we're going to click and we're going to drag it so it's about 23-ish. There we go. So it looks about like that, or so. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to change. You can see we've got a design here, so we can select different designs. We're going to pull this down, and we're going to choose this design right here, style 34. You can see what the other designs look like. Okay, see the other designs look kind of cool. Okay, and kind of look. It's supposed to be live preview, but a live preview doesn't work very well on this for some reason. Okay, so we're going to apply style 34. Okay, and then you can just click out anywhere to unselect your chart. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to label our tab. Sheet 1 doesn't give us a lot of information. If we're going to use Sheet 2 and Sheet 3 to put additional information on, we need to label this so that we know what's on it. So we're going to right click. We're going to choose Rename. And we're going to call this Lifetime Fundraising Summary. Okay, now it's very important that you check your spelling in here. You can't use spell check on this. For some reason, spell check does not work in the tabs. So make sure that you check this. Go over it. Lifetime, did I spell that right? Fundraising, did I spell that right? Summary, did I spell that right? And double check it with your book to make sure you spelled everything correctly. It does not spell check in the tabs. And if you submit this to your boss and you've spelled something wrong in the tabs, you're going to feel like a fruitcake. So don't make sure that you double check that because it's not going to spell check in the tabs. And then what you're going to do is we're going to change the color of the tab. So we're going to right click again, we're going to choose tab color, and we're going to change it to this red. Okay, so now you can see we've got red. So like let's say there was something in sheet 2, see how it turns that tab red? Isn't that cool? I like that. You know, it's kind of like those charts when you go to the dentist office. You know, you go to the dentist office and everybody's got little chart colors. I know when we go to our dentist has like pediatric kids. You know, they got kids and they've got adults. So like the charts are different colors. Like the little kids charts are like fun colors, and the grown-ups charts are like the boring yellow color. So I think that's cool. Okay, so go ahead and save this, and that is everything that there is to do on that. So you're going to use those skills to complete your in the labs and your cases and places. So I hope you learned a lot, and good luck.